evening, and welcome to the Nobody Asked Me Guys show. Guys, listen, I'm your host, Melvin Casey Lars, and this evening we're going to be talking about an outstanding program called 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project. Now, with us talking about this program is none other than Dr. Marcus Bright. And guys, you will certainly be enlightened, and I know that you're going to hear a whole lot of things that you probably did not know. And as we get ready to introduce to you, Dr. Bright, we're going to read a little bit of his bio here so that we can give you a real sense of who you'd be speaking with. Now, Dr. Marcus Bright is a district administrator with the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project. It's a school-based dropout prevention and mentorship program that serves thousands of boys in the state of Florida. He has previously been director of student affairs at City University of New York, Medgar College, student athletic academic coordinator at Florida International University, and director of outreach and program development in the Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Office of Educational Equity, Access, and Diversity. Dr. Bright has also taught public administration and public policy at 5 different universities: Florida International University, Lynn University, City University of New York, Medgar College, Florida Atlantic University, and the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Additionally, he was executive director of education for Better America, a nonprofit organization that partnered with school districts, universities, churches, and community organizations in over 15 cities across the nation to conduct educational programming and enhance public policy engagement. Dr. Bright received a bachelor's degree in government and world affairs from the University of Tampa, a master's degree in public administration from Florida International University, and a Ph.D. in public administration from Florida Atlantic University. He has published over 100 articles in various publications, including the Huffington Post, the Grio, and diverse issues in higher education, and has spoken across the country on a variety of topics related to public policy, education, and social justice. And the gentleman in which we are speaking of is Dr. Marcus Bright. Good evening, Dr. Bright. How are you, sir?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Lawrence.
Well, listen, Dr. Bright, the pleasure is all ours. Please allow me to say just very briefly is that I get a personal buzz each and every time I can speak to a brother like that's identified as a man of color or a minority or African American, however we say it, that continues to put myths to shame. And sir, you certainly continue to put that myth to shame with all of the work, the positive work that you're doing with the growth of these young men, etc. So it is indeed an absolute pleasure to be sitting here this evening with none other than Dr. Marcus Bright. And again, we repeat the name of that organization, 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project. So Dr. Bright, if you would you like to share a little bit more with us about who you are and what you do and where you've been? I have a friend of mine, Dr. Bright, his name is Dr. Jerry Baldwin, and he always had a saying. I told him I was going to steal it, but he said, I've been around the world once and I've seen everything twice. So certainly, as we look at all of the things that you've done, we know that you've been around the world probably a couple of times and you've seen everything more than twice. So if you share with us a little bit more, please.
Well, as you can see, most of my background is in higher education, but in 2018, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, who is the founder of the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project, gave me the opportunity to be a part of this tremendous movement. And I believe that it's one of the most important movements for boys and young men of color in the country. The 5,000 Role Models of Excellence Project was founded in 1993 by then school board. Well, first she was a school principal, then she became a school board member. Now she's a congresswoman, and Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, but she founded it in 1993 in her school. And then when she became a school board member, she began to expand the program out, and it's now in 110 schools and just in Miami-Dade County, but it's also in Broward County, Duval County, that's Jacksonville, Pinellas County, St. Petersburg, Florida, and Detroit, Michigan. And it's a dropout prevention and mentorship initiative, but it really aims to give a holistic realm of support to boys and young men all the way from the 3rd grade to the 12th grade. And there are chapters of boys in each of these schools. There are mentors that meet with them on a weekly basis. They go on a wide variety of exposure trips to hospitals and to museums, to universities, to businesses, to prisons. We have a scholarship program where we send a lot of the seniors to college with significant financial support. We have a big police and youth conference where you have hundreds of police officers and over 1,000 of our high school students, and they come together and they go over different scenarios about how to interact with the police, how to avoid the traps of incarceration, how to avoid negative encounters with officers, and then it just gives officers and young men of color an opportunity to get to learn more about each other, so the boys can understand what it is to be a police officer, to be on the other side of a traffic stop, and the officers can see the young men not as stereotypes, not as the derogatory depictions that you may see in the media, but in the outstanding young men that they are. And it's really been beneficial and revolutionary in South Florida, and it's a model that hopefully can expand throughout the country. It's a school district, school system based program, and it's very unique in that manner. And it's been shown to be scaled. Miami-Dade County Public Schools is the 4th largest school district in the country. It's scaled at 110 here. It's been scaled significantly in Broward County Public Schools, the 6th largest. Been scaled in Duval County. And so we're ready to move and take the mission and the movement across the country.
Wow, that's fantastic. As you share that, and our questions are coming in already. Damon wants to know, how did you get involved? And he's asking 2 parts here. How did you get involved? And once you got involved, were you ever discouraged? And Damon is from Pulaski County, Tennessee. Never heard of it.
I've heard of it. I have heard of Pulaski County, Tennessee. I'm originally from Martin, Tennessee, in West Tennessee. But my dad he's born in Nashville, but raised in Lincoln County, Tennessee.
Okay.
In very close proximity to Pulaski County, Tennessee. He's from a town called Fayetteville. So
okay.
I am familiar with Middle Tennessee and that region. I had been exposed to the 5,000 role models previously as a mentor a few years before I formally got involved. And it was a situation where I was actually in New York, and I came down and one of the former role models who became a member of the U.S. military, named David Johnson, was killed in combat. And there was a big ordeal between Congresswoman Wilson and then President Trump about that incident, and a member of Trump's administration said some derogatory things, and it was really it was in the national media a lot. But I was there for a memorial service for the David Johnson, and I spoke to the Congresswoman there, and it was at that time when we saw alignment with each other, and began making moves, and by that was in, I think, December 2017. By April of 2018, I had moved back down to Miami to fulfill what I believe is a significant part of the calling on my life. Have I gotten discouraged? I think for me, it was not a part of the career trajectory that I had seen for myself. I thought that I was more on the avenue to become a college president or a university president, and I was moving in that trajectory, and I in some sense I forfeited my career trajectory to answer a higher calling, which I felt in the service realm, in such a unique opportunity. I don't think that there's any other program in America that allows me to interact with as many young men of color on a consistent basis. And I just saw it as being a championship type system, because I remember the first couple of days I was with the role models. I would come in, I say, hey, well, I would go to one school and say, well, let me meet with the role models. and there would be 80, 90, 100 boys in these red ties coming to the auditorium. The next school, same thing, next school. So I immediately said, man, this is one person definitely can't take this on. And so I began to shift even my whole perspective to, if I can focus on helping the site director. These schools have a 5,000 role model site director, an adult mentor who helps to organize the chapter and bring mentors in. If I can pump efforts into them and into the students, you can, that's how you can reach thousands of people, by empowering, by building more leaders, by empowering those that have access to the young men on a daily basis. And the special thing about this program is that I can go almost anywhere in Miami-Dade County, in this county. If I see a young man, they're likely to be in a school that has a 5,000 role model program, and I can have a conversation with the young man, with the parent, and connect them with the site director. And I know automatically that they have some kind of a system of support around them, that they're going to get a certain level of training, a certain level of exposure, and really a social safety net that they wouldn't otherwise have. And it's a blessing for the young man, and it's also a blessing for us, for those who are in a mentorship capacity. And we learn from each other how to be better people, how to be in alignment with what it is that God has for our life. So in short, that's how I got involved with it. There have been moments of discouragement when you think about your own personal future, but I'm a firm believer that if you follow God's call in your life and you're in alignment with your purpose and your mission, and if you stand up for something, you stand up, God will hold you up. And I just walk every day with faith. I'm walking by faith and not by sight, and just trying to focus on being present in this very moment, because we don't know what the future holds. All we have is this moment. All we have is today. And if we can make the most of today, then we're on the right track.
Wow. Okay, man. Thumbs are going up. He's loving what you're saying, and so am I. As you share that, Dr. Bright, as a former high school principal, and I've worked with the young men forever, I would hear and continue to hear all the time when you talk about educating children as a whole, but Black boys more specifically. Everyone wants to run and hide behind what I call that excuse. When it starts at home, it starts at home. What would you say to those parents, those administrators that are in the buildings that do not want to take that responsibility and try to, again, hide behind that wall that everybody thinks is safe to hide behind, talking about it starts at home? Because you mentioned earlier about a support system. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Well, I think that everybody needs assistance. You can have a 2-parent home and live in a mansion and still be lacking something. When you can come from a single parent home in the projects and have what it is that you need. And so it's incumbent upon us to intervene at whatever level of support is needed, and it varies. And I think that's what I love about the role models, is that yes, we have a standard curriculum and activities and a certain set of experiences that we do in unison, but it can also, you have enough autonomy to focus the support around the specific needs of a student, and they're all different, and it's our challenge for those of us who have the privilege to be able to interact with young people and make a difference in their life and be a consistent presence to meet them at their need and do our best to open up doors of opportunity for them. I mean, we've had days, same kids, same school. We trying to get one out of jail. Yeah. I just literally this week, and people need different things, and you always, no one has all the answers. It's a continual learning process. I went to a young man, we get kind of referrals and people that need assistance. We reach out to them sometimes, and went to there's a pretty rough area of Miami. Miami is not just South Beach, but you come across the bridge, come across the bridge, and you can get into the nitty gritty. And this young man whose mother had died, and father's not really involved, and being raised by grandmother in a very rough area. And it's like the grandmother is afraid to even let him go outside. That's how dangerous it is. So he's cooped up, 14 years old, and it's just a make or break it point where he could go either way. And if there is not someone there who actually who cares enough to make an investment in him, to make him feel important, then he can go the wrong way easy, quickly, because he's about to reach an age where grandmother is not going to be able to control him for so long, and he's going to make his own decisions. And if you can be a counter, with the 5,000, it's a brotherhood. So, we're here to say, hey, if you want support, you want to be a part of something, you want to be a part of a family, a brotherhood that's going to look after each other, that's going to encourage and push each other and provide positive peer pressure. You don't have to join a gang. You can join the 5,000. You join our gang of positivity. You ain't got to deal dope. We deal hope. We hope dealers. Make young people believe in themselves, believe in their promise, and then encourage them to pay the price to reach their goals and aspirations, and try to expose them to a wide variety of different ways that they can make a living, that they can get post-secondary education and skills and training, or whatever it is that they're connecting their passion to something that's going to be economically viable, but then also just giving them the skills. And we have to, we have to be careful about, I think, just beating up on home environments, because the fact is, you don't know what's going on, and there could be any number of things that prevent a parent from being in a child's life the way that they may even desire to be. We have a mass incarceration epidemic that has locked up a generation of fathers. You have, parents who live in different states, who are well-intentioned and well-meaning and are co-parenting. You have a number of different things. You could have a parent that could be very financially well off, that's working all the time and out of town and can't spend the time. You can have an unemployed father who's there all the time and providing, that kind of support, being there. And so I don't think that it's our role to pass judgment or to give sanction, but to give support and to be empathetic and to help, because we all have challenges. You can be Superman in one area and be the donkey of the day, I guess, but it's Charlemagne the God in another area, where none of us are perfect. We all have shortcomings. We all have shortfalls. And so we can just help each other out and be that village of support, be that patchwork of a promise for our young people. And I think that's all we can ask for. Let's run our, it's our lap now. You got the Edmund Pettus Bridge behind you. They ran, John Lewis and everybody who marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, they ran their lap. They ran it hard with endurance, with courage, and they handed the baton to us. We have the baton now. We must carry it forward with the same kind of courage and integrity and character and purpose that they did, and advance the movement forward to the next generation.
Dr. Brett, as you share that, for me, as you are listening, with me being an older brother, 67 to be exact, you would not believe how many, I won't call them arguments, but how many unpleasant debates I've had to involve myself in with gentlemen in my age group and women that seem to, my age group does not want to accept the fact that it was us that dropped the ball. And why do I say that? is because there seems to be no holistic understanding and reckoning of what you've just said among a lot of the individuals 55 and up. People would not believe if you were sitting in private conversations how many of those of us in that age group that have bought into this ideology that, well, things are so much different now, and the kids, there's no excuse. It's insane. So I'm happy that you are sharing what you're sharing. And as we move further with the 5,000 and talk about the process and the support and all of the different areas of life that people have to walk in, as you're working with these young people, and the young brother from Pulaski wanted to know about your, if you ever get discouraged, when you work with these young people that are, and I'm asking for the audience. I think I know the answer, but I'm asking for my audience that somehow just don't think that no matter what is happening in organizations like the 5,000, that it just won't work for them. How difficult do you find that in working with those young people that have just made up their minds that no matter how much outside support is there, that is just no use? Or do you find that often?
Well, I think, and this is just something I've tried to adopt, is even in my own personal life. You do everything that you can do that's within your realm of control. And then I just believe you release it to God. And they've been in, and eventually, I have faith that they'll come to an understanding at some point, and they'll lean back on what was told them. Mr. Lars did say that. And they'll come to themselves at some point, because ultimately they do have to make the decision themselves as they grow into adulthood, and it's our responsibility to give them as much training and support as we can, so that they have something to lean back on, and that they have an example to emulate and to follow. But people inevitably fall off the track. But I think that if your foundation is strong enough, you'll go back to the foundation. So it's on us to just keep chopping away and keep building, keep brick by brick, laying a solid foundation for young people in every realm, both from a behavioral standpoint, from a policy standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, and continue to examine our practices, examine our regularity. Let us examine in our community those things that we take for granted, that we just do because it's out of tradition, but it may not be ultimately to the benefit to maximize what it is that our community has. And so we all need to work every day on our level of awareness and examine our practices and think about how we can improve both individually and collectively every single day, and keep making steps forward.
Miss Daisy from Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, Miss Daisy is saying, how do you convince your parents that you need extra help other than what they're giving you? Now, she's not, she's not explaining any further. So I'm assuming, Daisy, if I'm incorrect, please jot something else down for me. I'm assuming that Daisy is talking about feeding off what you're sharing about the assistance and having people persevere. And I'm assuming that Daisy may be in a situation where her parents feel that she should just be able to do whatever they think she needs to do, and that there's no extra outside help that may be needed, like the 5,000. So that's what I'm assuming. Daisy, if I'm incorrect, please put something else up there to let me know. But so I'll ask that question again, Dr. Bryce. She's saying, how do you convince your parents that you may need extra help that they are not providing for you?
Well, I think
that's a loaded question.
Yeah. I'm a believer in honoring your mother and your father, certainly, and being obedient to their wishes. But I think that you exhaust. You exhaust everything that you can do. The additional supports in your school, if there are college campuses around, they typically have supports. The internet is a vast resource depending on what you want to do. There are typically either no cost or low cost training programs that you can sign up for. Like for example, I just signed. I need to even in my stage, I need to retool on data analytics and understanding the technological world and gaining some new skill sets myself. I just purchased like a $30 Google course of Google about how to do things on the internet and that kind of thing. So you always want to look for a lot of things that you can do, independent of your parents to gain the skills. And I think that when your parents see your level of commitment and drive and focus and determination, and that you're not just dilly-dallying around with it, but you have a real focus and a concentration and a dedication to it, then I believe that they'll eventually help you on your journey. So I think that, but it's incumbent upon her to get started and maximize everything that is in her capacity and all of the resources that are already available.
I'm assuming that, she putting thumbs up and hearts, so I must have did a pretty decent job of transcribing her question. Dr. Bright, in our profession, and I don't like to ask negative questions sometimes, but I have to ask what I call an inquiry that will shake up the process. In our profession, there seems to be, in many cases, when we do the kind of work that we do, when you do the kind of work that you do, there are always the naysayers, and they do not have any inclination at all to help, but it seems like they work overtime to hinder the progress that you put forward to help these children. Have you been unfortunate enough, I'll use that word, to encounter those individuals? I saw a book many years ago called about negaholics. So if I can rephrase, have you encountered many negaholics as it relates to the work that you do with 5,000 and the help that our children need in the realm of adults, and dare I say professional adults that are supposed to be in the same arena that you are in to help these children, but they're doing everything but?
Absolutely. You're going to always have both external and internal haters. Those that are outside of the organization or outside of the movement, or those that are formally against you, and then those that may be internal. Those that may be right in your personal or in your immediate circle that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, who try to marginalize you, disregard you, diss you, undermine you, are jealous of you, want to put you in a box or limit you or limit what you can do. You're going to always have that. That's why it's so important to not seek people's approval, but to seek the approval of God, to answer the calling. That's why you can't get into it for a position, but it has to be for a purpose. I'm not even in it for a career, but like I said before, it's a calling. And then you stay focused on the bigger picture, on the bigger mission. You be big, be bigger than small, be too big to engage in smallness, and stay focused. You can't be big if little gets you. So just stay, I just try to stay, and you have to be vigilant about it, because I'm human like everybody else. But a lot of times, I like to phrase it as passing the test. It takes more strength a lot of times to not respond, because guess what? Responding and engaging is going to just drain your energy and take your energy away from the bigger things that you should be focusing on. I heard somebody say, if an eagle and a snake got into a fight, who do you think won, Mr. Lawrence? An eagle and a snake, if they got into a fight, who won?
You know what, Dr. Bright, I think the eagle will be the victor. And the reason I think the eagle will be the victor, because I'm thinking in terms of the eagle's flight, and I'm thinking in terms of the fact that he will probably try to disengage the snake from an area where the snake could not attack. And that's really my only reason, because I'm not really sure, but I would pick the eagle simply for that reason, is that I'm assuming that he might be vigilant enough to attack the snake from an area where the snake can't do him damage.
That's a good analysis. I disagree with you though.
Please do.
The snake won. Let me tell you why the snake won. Because the eagle shouldn't have been down there fighting in the first place. The eagle can fly. Why are you even down there?
I got you.
You need to be focused on bigger things. But that's us. We should be flying, but we go down there and engage with snakes.
Guilty. Guilty, Dr. Bright. Guilty. Been there, brother. Guilty.
So I think that's our focus. Stay focused on the bigger mission, on the bigger cause. And don't worry about worrying about what a hater can do to you, because what God has for you, nobody can take away. Nobody can touch it. As long as you stay in alignment with what God has called for your life, nobody can take what God has for you. Nobody. Stay focused on that.
Wow. That's a powerful question. And you and I were talking earlier before we came on this broadcast a few days ago when we were talking about Dr. George McKenna. And that let me tell you, I don't think I could have learned any better way to actually work with children from another person other than Dr. McKenna, because just the analogy you asked me about the snake and the eagle, he understood that. That he did not allow anyone to get him off focus where he was down there wrestling with the snake. And sometimes I wondered through my plights, as I was blessed to have been, quote, having the title of being the principal in 3 separate schools where we were able to turn the school around with students that wanted to do better, teach, etc., is that unfortunately, sometimes I allowed myself to go to the ground and fight with the snake. And in hindsight, just as you've shared, we'll say, hey man, why did you even waste that time? You took away the focus from what, so I'm so happy that you asked that, because so many of us, even though our intentions are good, sometimes as we share and move on, I would use the excuse, I said, well, hell, I guess it was just my football mentality, because I was not going to be defeated today, not realizing that I was being defeated when I allowed myself to go down and fight with the snake. But then I've been honest, and I'm so glad you said that. But, and I don't want to hold you all night, Doc, but when you are moving in the circles that you're moving, when you're touching the hearts and the minds that you are touching, most of the time people will say, well, how rewarding is that? Or do you really believe in what you're doing? And quite frankly, you've already answered what I'm asking, but if you could just elaborate, and I know you've talked about our strength in God primarily, and believing and knowing what God has for us, but that on those days when it's most challenging, what do you do to just kind of bring yourself back, if you've allowed yourself to kind of go in the direction that you didn't intend to go that day?
Well, you really have to be vigilant about tapping into your faith and concentrating on it. And I'm a big believer that if you want doors to open for you, then you have to open up doors for other people. So my blessings are contingent on serving others, on doing all that I can to help open up doors and opportunities for them. We spent the better part of the last 2 weeks, calling kids, walking them through, working with institutions, the college scholarship applications, to the T, working on both sides. I'm talking about late into the night, the nitty and the gritty, young men calling them back, get this FAFSA in, get these tax documents, get these letters of recommendation, going back and forth with the institution. So a lot of the grunt work that ultimately is going to result in hundreds of young men going to college and not having a financial albatross and student loan debt on their heads for going simply because of this effort. And so I'm just a true believer, that if you plant good seed, you get a good harvest. And what it is that we plant in this generation will bear fruit in the next. So it's springtime now, and we're just trying to plant good seed. And I think that service is power. I've always believed service is power, and that I think that you activate the miracles of God when you genuinely try to help and open the doors for other people. Because one thing about it, you can come up against challenges in your life that you just can't face by yourself. It's too big. Like, you need a miracle. I need God to intervene for me.
Absolutely.
And so I try to intervene for others. And if God gives me access to certain resources or people or connections, it's incumbent upon me to use those to benefit other people. And I have faith that God has saved me too many times. I've been on the edge too many times. I've jumped too many times, and I'm here today, still standing, to say that every time I've taken a leap of faith, God has ensured that I've landed on something, stepping out on nothing, and God making sure that you land on something. And so that's the daily challenge in faith walk, and genuine faith walk that at least motivates my work, and I think that motivates the work of the Congresswoman, because we see miracles. See miracles every day. You go so hard, and then you get a call, bam, we're gonna do this, this and this and this for these young men. And it's happened in my life. I've seen it happen for thousands of boys in this program. And that's what motivates me. When I get discouraged, I just lean back. I lean back on my faith, and I understand that the same God that part of the Red Sea for Moses and part of the Jordan for Joshua, and helped Daniel get up out the lion's den, and helped David escape from King Saul, and gave Frederick Douglass the strength, to stand up and write and speak every day with his life on the line, and have a belief that after 240 years of slavery that he could do something to help create the climate to end slavery, and to walk with King and help Harriet Tubman. That same God is with us and can do the same thing for us if we have faith and if we have belief, and we don't give way to cynicism and doubt and worry, but we drive those into a corner somewhere, and we focus on our faith and focus on the power of God, and fervently believe that he can open up doors that we can't even see, that he can do things that surpass our understanding. That's why I said, lean not into your own understanding, but in always acknowledge him. So, and it's a walk. It's a faith walk every day. It's not necessarily easy, but it's something that you just have to monitor your mindset, stand stand guard in the doorways of your mind. Make sure that you're keeping positivity pumped into you, and that you're relentlessly positive and grateful and appreciative and thankful that things are as well as they are. And I believe that thankfulness, that gratefulness can override any adversity.
Dr. Bright, this has been epic. I was, the same old cookie cutter questions people like to ask. Well, do you have a parting statement you'd like to leave? You've already left one. There's nothing that could be more powerful than what you've just shared. So again, allow me the opportunity to share with you that it's certainly been a great evening. And you saw me looking this way. I'm looking at a monitor, and the thumbs are going up and hearts are going up. and I want to appreciate our audience for asking questions, and some may ask. So if there are others that may want to contact you, or they may want to talk with their principals or their civic organizations, etc., about contacting you or speaking further with you, or even how they can bring the 5,000 Models project to their town, or even talk to their city council persons or mayors, etc., how might they contact you? Or is there a specific area you'd like them to go to contact?
Well, I'll tell you what, they can contact me on my email, drmarcusbright@gmail.com. I'll always have that email. And then you can follow me on Twitter at Dr. Marcus Bright, Instagram, Doc Marcus Bright. And then my school district email is mbright@dadeschools.net. So any of those, you can get me on any of those avenues of communication.
Great. Well, Dr. Bright, it's certainly been a pleasure. And I say with no shame in my game, is that I certainly look forward to a long and continuous and productive collaboration. I certainly am very impressed with what you're doing, how you interact and working with these young men. And dare I say publicly before we end this broadcast, is that I've been a freedom fighter all of my life, man. And when I see, again, I want to repeat, when I see young brothers stepping forward and making things happen and dispelling the stereotypes, it gives an old man joy. So let me just say to you, young brother, it's great seeing the work that you're doing, and my hat's off to you. And I would hope that we have an opportunity to possibly do some work together, and just keep this thing rolling.
Thanks for having me. Thank you to everyone watching for taking the time to also participate in this broadcast. And let's just do all that we can to max out every day for ourselves, for our communities, and for our nation, and to always keep belief forward, keep believing. Belief, faith, belief, faith and belief, faith and belief over any adversity, over any adversity. We can do it. We can do it. And do anything through God. That's all.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. You heard it here from Dr. Marcus Bright. And we want you guys to understand and know that you need to make every effort to contact this gentleman. And I do encourage each and every one of you to talk to your city council persons, talk to your mayors, talk to your principals in your schools, etc. If you, obviously some of you feel that you need the assistance of a program like 5,000 Role Models of Excellence. And who knows, the voices, your voices can and will be heard. So again, thank you for being here with us. This has been your host, Melvin Casey Lars, the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. And again, we ask you guys to return with us. We broadcast most Friday nights, 7:00 p.m. You can contact me at the Nobody Asked Me Guy show at gmail.com. That's the Nobody Asked Me Guy show at gmail.com. We always offer up to you our business contact number, 440-935-0374. We're never too important that we can't send a message, share a message, send a text, etc. But I will say very honestly to you, as far as getting a full-blown conversation, that probably won't happen too often because of our schedule. However, we do thank you again for being here. This has been the Nobody Asked Me Guy show. Dr. Bright, it's certainly been wonderful having you here, sir, and we look forward to collaborating again.
Thank you so much.
We certainly wish you a great and blessed evening.